Do you have an apology for the people whose bank accounts you illegally seized?
Better luck next time, Batman. Until next time, Batman. Holy fat shit!
RPN's bringing the smiles when we need them. When I saw Penguin fly through the window, I was sipping on my coffee and I choked on it. The WEF was the turning point for the world. The US flew in, flipped the script upside down on the globalist. Let's get into this report.
Man. Until next time, Batman. Holy fat shit!
We're going to start today's show off locally. Toronto citizen recites taxpayer land acknowledgement at City Hall in Toronto. Let's go.
Okay, I'd like to start my deputation in a good way by acknowledging the people who fund this municipal enterprise, the Toronto taxpayer. Let's reflect and remember that every word spoken in this chamber, every light bulb, and every salary paid, including those of city councillors, is funded almost entirely by the hard work and earnings of taxpayers and property owners. Nearly all of the city's $18.9 billion budget comes directly from them. We acknowledge that while taxpayers and property owners have endured an almost 20% increase in the last 3 years, only a small and insulated group decides how much of their income is expropriated to sustain a burgeoning municipal bureaucracy that continues to grow regardless of outcomes and results. We pay respect to those taxpayers because without them, this institution could not indulge in ideological excesses like renaming streets and public squares, painting roads with inferior and environmentally damaging red paint, nor fund harm reduction programs that result in a steady stream of drug paraphernalia littering our streets, sidewalks, parks, and playgrounds. In this spirit of acknowledgement and with an eye to the future, we recognize the Toronto taxpayer and revere their tolerance for being taxed.
You know what the best part about this taxpayer land acknowledgement is that it was exactly 1 minute and 13 seconds, and the last land acknowledgement from the same city hall was exactly 1 minute and 13 seconds. Oh boy, from now on, I'd like to see all our politicians across Canada start giving a taxpayer land acknowledgement. BC1 leader Dallas Brody on her social media account says, "This is my go-to meeting starter from now on." And look what I posted. Yes, yes, please. Wouldn't it be nice if they actually respected our taxpayer dollars? More local news before we move on to the WEF, and you're not going to believe this one. Canadian seniors, I can't say that word, but you could read it, squad vows against U.S. draw online laughter. Oh yeah, this is insane. Screenshots from private groups show seniors 70 years old and older ready to defend borders, make IEDs, and even head to Greenland amid Donald Trump's tariff threats and Davos jabs at Canada. Get this, one ex-reservist boasted of training with the juice cans while yelling bang bang. Younger voices online fire back with sarcasm, poking fun at the irony of these supporters. Oh man, I can't wait to show you this stuff, guys. This story is so insane. Seniors want to enlist in the Canadian Army as reservists. My husband told me the seniors at the curling club were talking about the U.S. threat to Canada, saying if war comes, there'll be the S squad taking their weapons to the border to pow as many Americans as they can. People are anxious but resolute. They will defend Canada. Can you imagine? Oh, all these seniors in their wheelchair going, get away from Canada, United States. We got a wheelchair and we're going to use it. The story continues. Laura Babcock, she aired on her shows saying that she got over 500 comments of Canadians willing to fight for our country, many seniors and youth. I hope Mark Carney understands that millions upon millions of us would sign up to a citizens' army if given a chance. Like I said, you can't make any of this stuff up. And as Tracy Wilson says here, the state of the mental health of these people is completely wild, and I would have to agree. And Little Pine Farmer says, wait a second here, they're gonna be taken out by MAID before they even bear arms with their wheelchairs. Here's a problem with all these seniors that want to enlist in the armed forces. First of all, there is an age restriction. Once you reach the age of 60, that's it. You can't enlist unless they change the rules. Maybe Mark Carney's gonna come out next week and say, hey, we'll take anybody with a pulse. I have a question. Are you over the age of 60? Are you going to be joining the Canadian Armed Forces and serving Mark Carney with the New World Order? Let's move on to world news now. This is Nicholas Caceres. He's part of a group of progressive alliance of socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament. Let's see what he posted today. He has a gray check mark. That means he works for the government. And I just showed you where he works. He works in the EU Parliament, and he posted on his social media account, coming soon. You can't make any of this stuff up. It's almost as if we're actually getting taken over by Europe. Almost 1 million people have seen this post. Mainstream media in Canada is calling Mark Carney's speech the best speech by a world leader in a very long time. Carney's Davos address draws global attention, and all of the elbows up people across Canada are cheering Mark Carney as this was the absolute best speech they've ever seen by a world leader ever. This article here got 250,000 views. My question is, how much did Mark Carney pay to get this headline? We're going to take a look at Ken here. I want you to watch this entire video clip from beginning to end. It is perfectly articulated, exposing Mark Carney step by step. This is why you watch my channel. You will not see any of this stuff on mainstream media. I'll put a link to Ken's social media account, so if you want to follow him, go ahead and do so. He did an exceptional job on this report. Oh, and one more thing before you see Ken. Share this video with every single person you know in Canada. Just share it with everybody.
Hey friends, let me start with something that should immediately raise red flags. Today at Davos, Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, stood in front of the global elite and told them the world order is broken. And then predictably, he blamed America, not China, not authoritarian coercion, not economic warfare. No, the villain, according to Canadian Prime Minister Carney, once again, the United States. And that tells you everything you need to know about what this speech was really about. Carney's central claim is that the post-World War II order is ruptured. But here's the question few people at Davos wants to answer. Who ruptured it? Was it the US Navy keeping the sea lanes open? Was it the dollar system underwriting global trade? Was it American consumers absorbing the world's exports for decades and allowing its domestic manufacturing to be hollowed out? Or was it China weaponizing supply chains? China stealing IP at industrial scale and sending its spies to infiltrate the free world? China coercing neighbors economically and militarily? China tearing up trade rules it promised to honor when joining the WTO? Because last time I checked, the rules didn't collapse. China violated them. The system didn't fail. One participant decided that the rules no longer apply to them. And people like Carney loves the phrase great power coercion. Sounds neutral, sounds academic, sounds sophisticated, but it's also cowardly because lumping the US and China together as equal disruptors is intellectual malpractice. Let's be very clear. The US uses tariffs. China uses hostage diplomacy. Carney can consult with the 2 Canadian Michaels detained in Chinese prisons for more details. The US pressures allies. China threatens invasion. The US enforces trade rules. China rewrites them after cheating and stealing. So one side enforces norms badly. The other side destroys norms intentionally. And pretending those are the same is intellectual dishonesty. Carney also advocates for middle powers to form blocs. Great, love that idea. But here's the tell. He never clearly says anything against China during a speech because panda huggers like him never does. Instead, the subtext is obvious. Band together to hedge against the US, to dilute American power, to escape choosing sides. But here's the problem. There is no neutral bloc in a world where China is revisionist. If you're not aligned with the US security architecture, you're eventually absorbed into China's orbit as a vassal state. There's no third door, only denial. And of course, Carney strongly defended Denmark and Greenland. Good, he should. But notice something interesting. He has no problem at all calling out US pressure on allies. Yet, when China militarizes the South China Sea, threatens Taiwan daily, strangles countries with debt, punishes nations economically for recognizing reality, suddenly silence, careful wording. So courage from China defenders is always selective. So here's the reality Carney won't admit. The current rupture exists because China grew rich inside a system it never intended to respect. And now it thinks it is powerful enough. It wants the benefits without the constraints. The US is not breaking the system. The US is merely trying to stop a free rider like China from hijacking it. So when you hear, Davos elites like Carney say the old order is broken, that's translated correctly. The old order no longer guarantees free rider like China access without accountability. And that, not Trump, not tariffs, not America, that is what truly terrifies them. Because in a world where China has to play by the rules, that is the one outcome Davos elites like Carney fears the most.
Ken, that was a mic drop moment for Canadians. Now let's take a look at Howard Lutnik. But first, after Mark Carney's speech, which he went after the United States, Carney leaves Davos without meeting Donald Trump after his speech on the US rupture of the world order. You can't make any of this stuff up, Canada. I posted on my social media account. It's official. Mark Carney, after slamming Donald Trump in the United States, said absolutely nothing about China, runs from the WEF when Trump was meeting other world leaders. This is your Prime Minister, Canada. And here's Mark Carney leaving the WEF before he has a chance to see Donald Trump after his speech. And my post got 1.1 million views. Howard Lutnik has something to say about Mark Carney's speech in Davos. Trump Commerce Secretary slams Carney's deal with China, says he's sick of hearing him whine and complain. Let's see what Howard Lutnik has to say.
And Canada is just thinking in this arrogant kind of thought.
Well, but just to build on what John is talking about, it's a style question. Can you get the same results without using words like calling leaders weak or their economies decaying, right? Is it necessary to provoke the visceral feeling that we feel among a lot of leaders here and in conversations with international investors? I mean, is there any other way? Is that style more harmful than it is helpful?
Well, I think it creates listening. Like people pay attention to it and listen to it. If you just sort of blend in, no one hears anything in Davos, right? Everybody says the same blah, 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 blah. And if you need to break out and you need to say it. So my view is, right, that Canada has never expressed to the world that they have the best deal, the second best deal in the world. The best deal in the world is Mexico, because remember, they have USMCA, which means 85% of the Canadian economy comes into the United States for zero. And there he is complaining that he's going to go to China and improve it. What's he going to do? China's delighted to sell to him. But do you think China's going to open their economy to accept exports from Canada? This is the silliest thing I've ever seen. They have the second best deal because Mexico's got a little better deal. They have 25% on the extra 15%, whereas Canada's got 35% on the extra 15%. But give me a break. They have the second best deal in the world. And all I got to do is listen to this guy whine and complain?
Mr. Secretary, in fairness, you've seen from the airplanes, you've seen about a 30% decline in Canadian visitors to the United States, if not significantly more. You've seen a similar type of decline from China. European travelers inbound have come down. There is a sense that people do not want to come to the culture of the U.S., and there is this anger about it. And I just wonder if you think that that's just temporary, or you just sort of dismiss that, or you think it's irrelevant to the actual issues.
I think what that is political marketing. Right? The Canadians have the second best deal in the whole wide world. If they continue this path, right, which is a political path of a certain thing. I'm going to go fly to China. I'm going to open up my markets to China. I'm going to take Chinese electric cars and do all sorts of this stuff. Then when USMCA gets renegotiated.
This year,
sort of like towards the end of the summer, in the middle of the summer, do you think the President of the United States is going to say, you should keep having the second best deal in the world? I mean, you guys are such great friends. I mean, they are playing with a set of rules that they haven't really thought
I can
through.
hear it in your voice. You're excited about negotiating this, aren't you, later this year?
Well, they've sort of given a sort of a roadmap of saying, so I guess we should change the whole deal, right? You want to be like the rest of the world. You don't want to be this favored neighbor because you've taken it so for granted that you're willing to come to Davos and say there's two hegemonic powers in the world, and we're going to decide which one we're going to work with. Really? You're going to either work with the United States of America, where 75% of your economy is totally tied to it, or China? Why would you say that? I think it's political. You know, I think if we take it correctly, we should look at it as just political noise coming out of a prime minister, and maybe this is working for his election, right? Because I don't think it can be real, because if you took out the math of Canada's economy and it doing business with the United States of America's $30 trillion economy, there's no such thing as changing what they have today. No one would vote for changing what they had today. Now, maybe they're marketing it well, but they're just for their politics. But they're surely not marketing it well for their fundamental economics for long-term the United States.
The U.S.
Wow, that is bang on. You can't say it any better than that. I wrote in my social media, is Mark Carney looking to have a spring election and drum up all this fear so that he could win his majority? And oh yeah, Canadians are already talking about it. Mark Carney has a plan, and he wants full control over Canada.